welcome to Falls Count Anywhere podcast. Charlie Turner here, along with the usual suspects, Chris DiCarlo, John Restino. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Good.
Very good.
Good, man. As we roll along here on the Falls Count Anywhere podcast, of course, we're always talking wrestling. We're talking some classic wrestling. More specifically, today we're going to be talking some MLW, that's Major League Wrestling. And we have a very special guest with us today to do just that. We have the perfect guest to talk some Major League Wrestling with us. He is the one of the main announcers in MLW. He is Mr. Joe Dombrowski. Joe, as he buffers in here, there he goes, as he pops into the screen. Thank you so much for joining us on the Falls Count Anywhere podcast. How's it going today, sir?
It's going well. Every day is a new adventure, and I'm happy I'm still above ground. How are you guys doing?
About the same,
right,
man. About the same.
Yeah.
As a guy that works in banking during the day, I can't say mine is as adventurous as yours. But when we come to the podcast, though, anything can happen. So we're excited to have you on, man. We definitely want to talk some MLW with you, of course. Get into some of the nuts and bolts of that, some of the talent you have there on the roster that I was able to take a closer look into over the past few days, man. Really good stuff going on there. But Joe, before we run into all that stuff, I want to just ask you about, how you got started in the professional wrestling business. What was it, first of all, I guess, what was it that piqued your interest in pro wrestling? And then second part of my question is how did you get your foot in the door to do commentary in the wrestling business?
What piqued my interest at first, I have no idea. I've been captivated since I was 5 years old. I don't know if it's the energy. I don't know if it's the larger-than-life characters, the live action, probably a little bit of everything. But as long as I can remember, I've been bitten by the pro wrestling bug. And I always knew I wanted to do something in it, but I didn't know what, and I didn't know how to go about doing that. It wasn't until I was about 12 years old that I discovered independent wrestling formally and figured out what it was, and that there's actually wrestling in my hometown, my home area. I didn't go to a local show until I was 16 years old. Main event was Jerry Lawler versus Kamala, and Colt Cabana was on that show. Matt Cross was on that show. Balls Mahoney, Chris Hero, Christian York, and Joey Matthews. It was a really, really stacked show. And being that close gave me that bug and that sickness tenfold. Like, this is my way. This is my path. I need to figure out how to do it. And as luck would have it, it only took me 4 months until I wound up middlemaning a charity event to my high school with IWC Pro Wrestling as a fundraiser. And that was my foot in the door, is basically co-promoting my local town and bringing this event. And, CM Punk was in the main event of that card. Colt Cabana was there. It was a big deal. And we had, I think, 350 people there, which for kind of a cold area that had traditionally not drawn very well, that was a big success. So I was only 17. Obviously, I had no delusions of grandeur about stepping into the ring and whooping anybody's ass on that night or anything like that. But I wound up next to a man named Jeff Gorman, who was my first mentor, who was the play-by-play voice in Pittsburgh wrestling at the time. And that was really my foot in the door. After that, I started writing for the website. I started doing whatever odd jobs they needed, and working my way back into the announce desk. And finally, I get enough opportunities and enough reps that it becomes a permanent thing. And I've been the voice of IWC wrestling ever since, 19 years now and counting. And obviously, I've been able to branch out and glow up and do a lot of other cool things too. But without that little seed planted back in 2002, 2003, none of this other stuff's possible.
Man, that's awesome. Awesome to hear. And, was there anybody when you first started and you started interacting with the talent, you mentioned some big names there, CM Punk and Jerry Lawler and those guys and Kamala. But were you starstruck at any point by any of those guys?
Oh, a lot. Yeah. I mean, not so much by Punk and Colt at the time because they had yet to really hit their big stride and their big run. But I mean, my rookie year, I am sharing locker rooms with AJ Styles, with Shark Boy, with guys. I'm watching them Wednesday nights on TNA pay per view, and then I'm working with them on Saturday, and it was just such a surreal thing for me. D'Lo Brown came in a time or two. And the last match I called in my rookie year, 2003, the last match was Mick Foley as the referee for Jerry the King Lawler versus the American Dream Dusty Rhodes. So
Wow.
I was in head first, and it was a blessing and a curse because was I ready for that? Hell no. But it forced me to get ready real quick and micromanage and really, really be my own worst critic because I have to get good and I have to now because the shot is in front of me and it's up to me to make the most of it.
Wow, that's very cool, man. And did you as far as like at the announce table there, did you have anybody specific that maybe you picked the brain of to kind of maybe get some feedback of what maybe you could do better or what maybe you sponged off of them as they did their thing?
I mean, really, the brilliance of the promoter, Norm Connors, is that he knew how inexperienced I was. He knew I was just a 17-year-old kid. So he put me with two veterans in Jeff Gorman and Anthony Kingdom James from Toronto, who are two guys who I had watched when I'm 12 years old. I discover independent wrestling on TV. Jeff Gorman was the host of the show, and Anthony King James was a wrestler at the time. But they were able to do a lot of the heavy lifting and give me the time to find myself. Anthony was a great foil, where he would be the antagonist, and I would be, obviously. The white meat baby face, as they like to be called. But that was a great dynamic that helped give me a sense of purpose and kind of an identity right out of the chute. And Jeff was great because it was osmosis. Really, there were so many things I was able to pick from him about being a good straight man and a good lead and somebody who calls these shows with integrity and respect, and you're not bearing the product, you're not insulting anyone's intelligence. You find that good balance right in the middle, and Jeff was great for that. And as time went on and I would cross paths with other people like an Al Snow or whatever the case may be, obviously anybody who has any experience doing that in a higher level, Jim Cornette, I would pick their brains as often as I could because they are where I want to be. So I need to do what they do in some form or fashion, or at least take what they know and make it my own. So I think the best people in wrestling, you take a little bit from everybody. And I think that's what I've been able to do, both from people I've worked with and people I've just grown up watching.
Yeah, Mr. Dombrowski, I'd like to mention a couple names here to you that we've had on our show already so far. This October will be a 1-year anniversary for us. And we've had some big names. And thank you for joining us today, of course, because you're one of those big names that we appreciate. But we also had Mr. David Crockett, which you know, and Mr. Gennard Soley, which is one of the sons of the great Gordon Soley, join us, as well as Mr. Doyle King, who worked out of the Dallas promotion too.
Well, I mean, yeah, I could speak on David Crockett, just a sweetheart of a guy. I had never met him until a few weeks ago in Nashville, but so fun to work with. Just being on the Jim Crockett promotion set with David Crockett and Tony Schiavone, I can't even say that was a bucket list item because by the time I got into the business, Jim Crockett Promotions had been gone for 14 years. So it wasn't even realistic enough to be on the bucket list, but somehow it happens. And I'm absolutely floored that entire night was just so surreal. And I have to pay my respect too, since you mentioned the last name of Soley. Gordon Soley is the guy that Jim Ross will swear up and down to this day still is the best to ever do it. And I would swear up and down to this day Jim Ross is the best to ever do it. So that line of succession, though, starts with the Dean of Wrestling, Gordon Soley, who for his day, Gordon Soley and Lance Russell, there was no compare to the two of them.
Yeah, a couple
Exactly.
of icons. Yeah, a couple of icons in wrestling business. And for me, like growing up, I mean, I feel like the we're a little bit older. We grew up in the golden era of WWF, the late '80s, early '90s, and when it transitioned to the Attitude Era, I thought the perfect announce team during the golden era, to me personally, was Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan, and also Gorilla and Jesse Ventura were great together. And then once it transitioned to the Attitude Era, I thought it was fantastic with Jim Ross and the King Jerry Lawler. I thought they were a perfect combination for that era. Now, Joe, when you got the call from MLW, I understand this was just about a year ago that you signed on with them, correct?
Yeah. I think I started with them in October, and it had been a done deal for a few weeks prior to that. So yeah, we're coming up on 1 year.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And
You
yeah,
were in
and
Ring of Honor before that, sir?
I was. I've been in and out of Ring of Honor since 2010. My very first voiceover session, my second event ever, was for Ring of Honor. Was the event where Tyler Black, Seth Rollins won the ROH World Title. So I'm proud to be a part of history there. But yeah, I did Future of Honor pretty consistently from 2017 to 2020. And wherever they needed me before that, usually as a fill-in for Kevin Kelly or doing the some of the straight-to-DVD stuff with Dave Prazak back in the day. But Ring of Honor, Kerry Silken, Adam Pearce, the very first big company that took a chance on me. So I will always be indebted to them for that.
yeah, that's very, very cool. Speaking of Ring of Honor, they've kind of given it a rebirth with Tony Khan, owner of AEW, kind of giving a rebirth to Ring of Honor. Have you been following the current Ring of Honor product as far as now Cesaro, well now Claudio, who just won the World Championship, who a lot of people think was well deserved, including myself. Do you stay in touch with today's wrestling, WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor?
Without a doubt, I think you have to. I think any true student of the game has to be on top of what's going on, who the top talents are, who's coming up. I think you do a disservice if you don't. Not to say you have to watch everything,
Right.
but yeah, I think you need to be on top of that. I've been a big fan of Claudio, God, since the day I met him in 2004 or something like that. I wish Ring of Honor well. I hope they can find a steady home. I hope Tony Khan can get them TV. There's a ton of great talent. They're currently past, present, future, whatever. Ring of Honor, wrestling as we know it today does not exist without Ring of Honor. Those are three very, very important letters. So if they can stick around and if this can become a viable thing, it's just more jobs and more viable options for the fans and the talent. So it's nothing but a positive. And congrats to Claudio for finally becoming a world champion, because he's had all the tools for a long time.
Yes, indeed. Long overdue there for sure. But as you speak about everything, sir, I also, I'm old school, of course, been a fan since 1980, but I like the NWA on Fight. I think that's coming up, at least starting to anyway, and Billy Corgan does a decent job with it.
Yeah, I've seen less of that, but I really enjoy the talent roster there. I know, some of the generational talents I've had a chance to work with, like Kerry Morton and Colby Carino. I'm a big fan of them and their fathers. And Billy Corgan obviously has a passion for this sport, based on how much he's been around, how deep he wants to get involved. But again, it's another option for the talent. It's another option for the fans. And I love the fact that there are so many different varieties. You can find that flavor of ice cream that you prefer. Not everybody's going to like WWE. Not everybody's going to like AEW, but you can find that product that you do like, much more accessible now than ever before with content and streaming and VOD channels and everything being so out there these days. And NWA definitely has its audience, and I hope that it can keep building and growing.
Yeah, like New Japan Pro Wrestling on TV for past, I don't know, a few years, more than a few years. Impact, of course, like you said, started as NWA TNA and then TNA and then Impact. So yeah, there's quite the variety to watch every day of the week. But here, our show is Saturdays because Saturday was wrestling day, of course. So we're old school.
I dig it.
And Joe, to kind of get into the nuts and bolts of what you do with MLW, your wheelhouse, if you will, Major League Wrestling. I had a chance to go back and watch a couple matches. The one that stood out to me, and specifically, I wanted to watch this match because we're all three of us, me, John, and Chris, we got together for the Ric Flair final match card, and the one guy that stood out to us, there was plenty. I mean, the Briscoes and a lot of guys, super talented. Jacob Fatu stood out to me right away, and to all of us. The unbelievable athleticism for his size. And I went back and I watched the Alex Hammerstone match where he won the title from Jacob Fatu. If you haven't seen it, wrestling fans, go check it out on YouTube. It is a fantastic championship match. Just want to ask you about those two guys specifically, Hammerstone and Jacob Fatu. Oh, and also, of course, I want to ask
I think Charlie might have froze.
you about the upcoming suit for those guys, Hammerstone and
there
Fatu
you go.
coming up. Of course, as we know, Hammerstone is still the champion.
Yeah, well, I look at Fatu and Hammerstone as franchise players for MLW. The past 3-4 years, you go back in the history of our brand, they are at the forefront. They are, either one of them is the world champion or Hammerstone as the open weight champion. I mean, they've got, as a wise man once said, they've got the size, the look, the rap. I smell money. There's nothing these guys can't do. And they look like $1 million doing it. Of course, Fatu has the pedigree. His father, the Tonga Kid, his uncles, Rikishi, Umaga. I don't need to explain the Samoan wrestling family bloodline and what it's meant to pro wrestling over the past 40 years and what it means to pro wrestling today, especially.
Absolutely.
And Fatu, Jacob Fatu, is one of the most athletic in that entire family, past or present. Hammerstone has the charisma, has the power, has that ability to connect. He's got that ability to withstand punishment. Hammerstone is the kind of guy you want front and center on your wrestling poster, front and center on your magazine or the homepage of your website or whatever the case may be. Hammerstone's a star, and the Hammerstone Fatu matchup on the Fightland special, that to me is the biggest marquee matchup that MLW could have put forth at the time. And I don't think it's the last time we're going to see that matchup between the two of them. But it's the old adage of the irresistible force and the immovable object. And Hammerstone, I believe, badly injured his ankle in the first maybe 5 minutes or so of that matchup. So for him to be able to go as long as he did, come out on top, and deliver the type of performance he did, shows you the passion, the dedication, the commitment that Hammerstone has to pro wrestling and to MLW as a company. So if that doesn't scream champion, I don't know what does.
Yeah, and they even talked about the commentary for that match, talked about how he put on a little bit of extra weight because he knew he was going to have his hands full with Fatu as a 300-pounder, and Hammerstone put on about 10 to 15 pounds of extra muscle for that match because he knew he was going to have his hands full. But man, you're right. I mean, the look of him, the size, just the overall look is it just screams pro wrestling, and he's a fantastic champion for you guys so far.
I think the beautiful thing is when you look at guys like Fatu and Hammerstone, and really the vast majority of the MLW roster, is so many of them haven't hit their prime yet. Their best years are still well to come in the future, and we as fans of the genre, as me as a broadcaster, we get to watch those best years unfold right in front of our eyes, and it's a beautiful gift.
It's very cool.
And,
Joe, I'm sorry, Chris. I just wanted to ask real quick, and Chris, I'll let you take over for a second. And Joe, you mentioned the open weight championship. I was a little curious about that because I wasn't sure about how that gets defended. And I do see that Alex Kane is the current open weight champion. What is the criteria? What exactly is the meaning of open weight? Is that any weight class can challenge for that title?
Yeah, well, the open weight championship basically means there's going to be no weight class or no limitations to who can challenge it. It's a much more wide open and diverse division, whereas your middleweights are restricted by a certain weight limit. The heavyweights, it's not impossible for somebody to bump up a weight class. Certainly, the heavyweight championship is going to be largely surrounded by your bigger competitors. The open weight championship can go in any direction, and we've seen middleweights challenge for it. We've seen heavyweights challenge for it. So it's just a more unpredictable and more stylistically diverse championship where you need to really be on your toes to defend it. And I think Alex Kane has really come into his own incredibly over the past several months, somebody that really wasn't on my radar at all until I came to MLW. But he has shown with the Boumaye Fight Club that he is a champion that is very, very credible and can hold his own against pretty much anybody, whether it's choking out Alex Shelley to win it or whether it's defending it against the likes of Davey Richards. Alex Kane can rise to a high level of competition, and that's what you need to do to last in MLW or any top company.
Chris, that means you can challenge for the title. Let's get you in there, dude. We'll get you a title shot. Let's see if we can have you hang with the champ, man. Chris, go ahead. You have a question?
No way. Like Joe's story here, and John and I got to appreciate that because John wanted to be a broadcaster in sports. I, of course, like I said, the wrestling fan since 1980. I went to college in media communications. I wanted to be a wrestling broadcaster. But
such a tough business to crack, yeah.
But here we are, and I'm honored and thrilled to be doing this podcast show, and it's throughout the country and world, as we are on YouTube and Spotify and Twitter now. So definitely appreciate you, Mr. Dombrowski. But like you said about the Simone family dynasty. Right, the Von Erichs, the history and tradition there, and I think you're right about Kevin's sons still are good, very good, but I'm sure we see a bright future.
Yeah, I mean, Ross and Marshall have so many of their dad's qualities, both athletically. They're humble, they're complete gentlemen. They are exactly what you would expect to hear from a Von Erich, yes sir and no sir, and country and God and all of those great things, you know. It really is, and it's great to see that, you know, they have matured in MLW, and maybe some of the pitfalls of the industry of years gone by that had put a bit of a cloud over world-class championship wrestling once upon a time is not something that's affecting the Von Erichs. And, you know, to your point, I think we really saw a great outing from them outside of their normal comfort zone, outside of MLW, but seeing them at the Ric Flair last match event was a pleasure. And I can speak to the fact that their flight was extremely delayed. They barely got there in time. So to be able to be traveling all day and basically step off of a plane and not that many minutes later into a ring and do the things that they do at the level that they did with the likes of the Briscoe brothers speaks volumes as well. But when it's in your blood, when you're a generational talent now, I mean, these are third generation athletes, Ross and Marshall. You grew up around it. You grew up, you know, oh, daddy used to do what? My uncles did what? Granddad did what? And it just becomes ingrained in you. And those are big shoes to fill. It's not an easy road, but Ross and Marshall, I think, have represented their name and their legacy incredibly well.
Totally agree. John?
Oh, my question is, I'm going to go back to the Flair pay-per-view that we all watched. You know, there was a point where the three of us were watching, and it was amazing. You know, you had The Undertaker in the crowd. You had all these. It was just so much happening there that I wanted to get your take on that part. Like, how did you feel? I mean, there was just so much. I mean, as Chris would like to say, wrestling royalty all around. So it was kind of incredible. I want to know how you felt being there. And secondly, I guess I just want to know what you thought about Flair's match and how it went.
The vibe in that building was incredibly surreal. It felt like if you had a really vivid fever dream, and for some reason in the dream is every single person you've ever met in your life. because I mean, there were people there I hadn't seen in years that I had a chance to reconnect with, from, Scott D'Amore to Sanjay Dutt to, I mean, the fact that the Undertaker, J.J. Dillon, and Cole Radrick were all on the same event together, and that doesn't make sense as a sentence.
Right.
That does not make any sense, but it happened, and from top to bottom, from independent guys to legends and Hall of Famers to the stars of today. I mean, and just seeing the people backstage running things, Road Dogg and Dr. Tom Pritchard, and just so many people. I had never been a part of an event with that kind of scope, with that kind of manpower. And, I met Doug Dillinger, I met David Sahadi, I met Keith Mitchell. I mean, names that to the layman wrestling fan probably don't mean a lot, but if you understand the nuts and bolts of this business, these are huge players, So to me, I just felt overwhelmed in the best way possible all day being around all of that. As far as Flair's match, I give Rick all the credit in the world for stepping into the ring at 73 years of age, for going out on his own terms, and for fighting his ass off. And I think no matter where you stood on your opinion of Rick, I think you got what you wanted. I think if you were all on board for Ric Flair, then the drama and the excitement of that match took you back just a little bit to the glory years and gave you that Rick that you loved one last time. And I think the more cynical fans that maybe were questioning Rick and questioning the decision, questioning the match, I think they came in with their minds already made up. And I think they were going to take away from that match whatever they chose to. But I chose to get lost in the moment and the crowd reaction. Rick was my first favorite wrestler. If there's one match that's a reason I'm doing this with my life, it's the 1992 Royal Rumble that Rick won. And listening to Gorilla and Bobby tell that story and watching Rick, go through the pitfalls of that for an hour. So it's Rick's life. It's Rick's story. He deserves a chance to end it as he sees fit. And I am just over the moon at the fact that I got to be a tiny, minuscule part of that. And much like, the Brian Pillman Memorial shows, much like All In, this event will go down in history. This is kind of a once-in-a-generation type event where everybody gets together and believes in something strong enough to all just get along and coexist. And it's not about money. It's not about politics. It's not about who's got whose spot. It was about Rick. And I think there are less than a handful of people whose name could have pulled that all off. But the name Ric Flair being on the marquee absolutely did that. And I got nothing but love and respect for Ric Flair for it.
Yeah, and in reading some of the stories coming out of the post-match, and then, some of the stories leading up to it, I just heard, and again, maybe you could shed some light on this, and, a lot of stuff you read online, some of it's rumor mill, some of it's legit, you sometimes can't tell, but from my understanding, Ric Flair was really dehydrated going into that match. He purposely didn't want to drink any water, so he wouldn't put on any water weight. He wanted to be at a certain weight from what I read, and then once the match was over, he was ready to go to the back and drink some beers. And from what I read, the Undertaker said, "No, you're going to drink a couple Gatorades first, and then you could have your beer." He kind of like stepped in and intervened there. Do you know if there's any truth to that?
I mean, I obviously wasn't in Rick's dressing room at the time, but from what I understand, that story comes from Rick himself and Rick's podcast. So I think there probably is a lot of validity to that, as long as it was quoted properly. The backstage was so, I don't want to say chaotic, but there was so much activity going on that it's not like I had a lot of downtime with Rick, and it's not like Rick was, necessarily the most accessible. He needed to prepare for that match. He needed to be in a certain frame of mind. And again, the whole night felt like a giant reunion. So everybody wanted a bit of Rick's time. And so I wasn't there to physically see it. I know Undertaker was back there, obviously. I know Rick, has been very honest and very open in his podcast and telling that story. So I have no reason to deny it or doubt it. And again, that just speaks to Ric Flair's passion and how much this meant to him. The guy passes out twice, and he's 73, and he still gets up, and he still has more left in him. I mean, I don't know if you're going to find anybody that loves pro wrestling more than Ric Flair.
No, right.
Real quick, I just want to say one thing, and I wanted to get from you, and then is Jarrett. I thought he was an incredible, just the way he was coming to the ring. He made this he really was, to me, and I'll see what you think. I thought he was outstanding. The way he, interacted with the crowd, the whole thing, he really gave this what it needed. I don't think there was maybe there wasn't anyone else that could have done that.
I don't think Jeff gets the credit he deserves overall. I think it's very easy for a critic to pan some of Jeff's biggest accomplishments because, he was WCW World Champion, but the company was dying, or, he was NWA World Champion, but he ran the company. And I think those myopic views don't give Jeff the credit he deserves for the pressure that he would have had on his back at that time. Jeff didn't start a company because he wanted to be world champion. Jeff started a company, the reason we all start companies, and that's because we see an opportunity to grow a business and make money and help people. So to think that Jeff would just selfishly, myopically put himself on top of the card because he likes Jeff Jarrett is foolish. Jeff is very, very shrewd. Everybody from Memphis is very shrewd and a great businessman. And how cool was it to see Jeff Jarrett, Jerry Jarrett, and Jerry Lawler on camera at the same time? That's history too. That's history.
Yes.
But Jeff, again, is third generation. He grew up in this business. He's been around it forever. And he knows, not to borrow a phrase from somebody else more famous than me, but he knows his role. He understands who and what Jeff Jarrett is and who and what Jeff Jarrett needs to be. And that was the strongest foil that Ric Flair could ever hope to have that night. Jeff Jarrett, to me, is an inspiration. When you look at the longevity he's had, when you look at the many hats he's worn in this sport, everything he's done from a promoter to a wrestler to a businessman, he's done it all. He's still relevant. He's still current. And there have been a few different points in this year that Jeff Jarrett's been the most talked about person in pro wrestling. In 2022, who would have ever thought that? But that speaks to Jeff's shrewdness, his intellect, and just the value that he brings. That Jeff Jarrett in 2022 has arguably more value and cachet to it than it has in the past 10 plus years.
Joe, I'd love to. Go ahead, Chris.
I gotta tell you, and everybody laughs at us, Mr. Dombrowski, but I guess since 1980, right? You talk about the fan, you got to believe in it. If you don't believe in it, it's like, so between that setup and the Conrad and Jarrett show and Conrad and Flair show, man, I hated Jeff Jarrett more than I ever did in my life. And then to see that it was all a work. But that goes to show you that, they got us to believe in it, and it was great.
There is still magic, and the people still want to believe. You just have to give them a reason to. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people in wrestling now that are either too lazy, too stubborn, or just don't see the big picture and don't do that. But it all starts in making the people believe in you. Because if you got that, then you got their emotional investment.
Absolutely. Joe, we'd love to keep you on for another hour or so, man, and just talk some wrestling, man. I know your time is sensitive. We don't want to keep you too long. But before we let you go here, and again, we want to thank you so much for your time. If you could just give us just some information on the Atlanta Super Series coming up. I know that card is still kind of in the works. I do see that Hammerstone is set to defend his title against Bandito. If I had that correct, there it is there. What can that's coming up in September, correct? And then we could expect more to this card, I would assume.
Yeah, that'll be in September. And then in the month of August, I believe there's going to be another joint show down in El Paso. So MLW is still touring, still doing some big things, but I know there's some bigger announcements yet to come. We got a new TV season coming in the fall. Stay tuned for announcements there. I wish I knew more, but a lot of the top secret information is above my pay grade. But I would say just stay posted to social media and stay posted to MLW.com for more information there. And you can find more about me at my website, joe-dombrowski.com, or my streaming digital site, prowrestlинglibrary.com. We have over 500 hours for rent, purchase, or subscription. A lot of my original works, all my original works are on there, from the Montreal Theory, The Legend of Virgil, Refereeing 101, the HWA Heartland series from Cincinnati, the Pillman Memorial shows back in the day, and a whole lot more. And if anybody wants to follow me on Twitter, it is at Joe_Dombrowski, or on Instagram at Joseph_Dombrowski. So feel free to check me out and support what you like, guys, because that's what keeps the business strong.
100%, sir. Mr. Joe Dombrowski, one of the lead announcers of Major League Wrestling. Thank you so much. We will continue to talk some MLW on this show on Falls Count Anywhere, and definitely throw out that information each and every week on how to check out MLW and the upcoming shows that you guys got going on, because it really is good stuff, man. We enjoy it, and love to see it keep going. As you said, the more options, the merrier. So we'll definitely be enjoying some more MLW in the future. But Joe, thank you again so much for your time, sir, and we'll be looking for you, man.
Much appreciated, guys. Thank you for the platform. Take care.
Thank you.
Take care now. All right, guys. Great stuff there. Always great to hear from talent in the wrestling business that can kind of just give us those types of stories, man. It's great stuff. So we're gonna take a quick break. I know we got to check in with our sponsors here, John. We're gonna do that, and of course we have some clips on the other end of the commercial break here. So stick with us. Alrighty, welcome back, guys, and thank you again to each and every one of our sponsors. We are very appreciative of all of you. Guys, welcome back. Another great interview here that we had the pleasure of speaking with Mr. Joe Dombrowski of Major League Wrestling. Thoroughly enjoyed that interview and hearing his come up in the wrestling business and talking a little Ric Flair and whatnot. So thank you again to him. But Chris, we're going to get into your wheelhouse right now, and we're going to unlock the vault, if you will, and bust open the old classic wrestling. What do you got for us, man?
Yeah, all right. Well, each and every week, as we do here, like I say, these videos are not for sale or traded or anything. They're from my own personal library of collection, and we enjoy them here in our show, Falls Count Anywhere. And we do have our first clip here. It's from about our guest, Mr. Joe Dombrowski. Right, John? Let's roll it.
Ellie's illegitimate son, Joe Dombrowski, and Joe. This is what we do after the event.
There he is with Ring of Honor, we mentioned.
Yep. Really cool.
This is kind of funny. Steve Carino.
You had to have a favorite. I me with an alligator.
Keeps cutting them off, right?
Oh, you guys lethal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't coexist. We got egos. Oh my goodness. What about Ramonki? I swear she was
And then, of course, his wheelhouse is this promotion of MLW, Major League Wrestling, and there he is.
Wow, that looks good.
In the heart of Texas, and that puts 5150 in the wrong place at the right time because the final destination.
That looks
good.
good. I wonder how old he
Yeah,
is.
like the set there, yeah.
And it's a bum out brawl. You have to wonder, but only one man.
And then, of course,
I'll tell you
we
what,
got
guys,
some
that's-
clips here together of him.
Yeah, that no BS on that. I'm not saying it because we had him on as a guest, but that MLW was pretty fun to watch, man. There's a lot of matches available on YouTube. Like I said, that championship match with Alex Hammerstone and Jacob Fatu, man. You want to see some wrestling. Those two guys put on a show.
Yeah, it really is. It's a up and coming and hopefully a bigger already a great promotion in my opinion.
Yeah.
But here he is, kind of on another show over the years, explaining like we asked him how he got involved in the business and everything. But
Okay, with Mr. Nick Hausman there, and be sure to check out his podcast as well. We like to spread the love, you know. Yeah, this looks like because I was able to pull up a couple of past interviews with Mr. Dombrowski there, and this was definitely what I ran into. So yeah, we only got about 35, 40 minutes with them. Like I said, I could have kept them all day and asked some questions. We don't want to do that. We don't want to keep it too long, but he does get a little bit more in depth on some other shows here as well. So definitely worth checking out.
yeah,
Excellent.
and I believe our next clip here is speaking of the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, the one and only. We got a couple of him, right, John?
Or did I put up the wrong? Oh, this is Killer Khan. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. We got Killer Khan and the Mongolian Stomper because they both were hailed from Mongolia. So yeah, what a tag team here. George the Animal Steel and Killer Khan.
Yeah,
Wow.
great.
Oh. Look at
Oh,
that
look at
face. Killer Khan
Ernie
against
Ladd.
the big cat, Ernie Ladd
These
here.
guys, yeah, that Ernie Ladd, yeah, these guys were not pretty boys, man. They were coming in for one reason. That was to beat you up.
Look how big this man.
Yeah, Ernie Ladd, absolutely.
Definitely an ex-football player, lad.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I liked Ernie the Big Cat. What a career. I got a lot of matches of him, speaking of which, but and then here we go. We see two that really never go at it, right? We got the Great Kabuki here against Killer Khan from Japan.
oh, wow. Okay. Gotta love the old Japanese wrestling footage, man. Some classics.
Yeah, and here he is, the Mongolian Stomper. With his manager Don Carson here. This was out of Southwest Championship Wrestling. And then here he comes in with this.
What the?
Is that a hat or is
I
that
guess
a
it's
hair?
really cold. Is it really cold in Mongolia? I guess so.
Am I? I don't know.
There he is
There he
again.
is.
But what a career those two guys, AKA from Mongolia, did have in pro wrestling.
You're
Jeez.
good.
Mongolian
Killer
Stomper,
Khan
man.
used to scare me.
You would break your hand just trying to hit that guy's jaw. My God. That dude was scary looking, man.
Yep.
Jeez.
Yeah,
is that
and,
all of our clips? We got some more.
No, we got Flair.
We got Flair.
Oh,
we got
Flair. Yeah, Nature Boy.
the Nature Boy Ric Flair here. Here we go.
Now, this was not his last match.
No, this goes back to between 1982 and 85 here. Of course, this was the studio match between Jerry Lawler, of course, down in Memphis, against Ric Flair. John, you're familiar with this one.
Yeah. No, this is great. I mean, I guess this is a lot of the stuff we used to read about in the magazines that I couldn't get to
Right,
see.
that
You know
we
what I
were never
mean?
able to.
Right.
Right, indeed. We were never able to see those different territories like here, Memphis, Georgia, Southwest.
We weren't able to see it until DeCarlo got a DVD player that could record shit.
Yeah, right.
Well, damn. I wish I had that VCR back in between 80 and 87, though.
Or a Betamax. Something, yeah.
Oh, yeah, something. But here we go. Here's a rare match, guys. Coco Beware against the Nature Boy, Ric Flair in Memphis at the Coliseum.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Coco, yeah. WWE Hall of Famer as well.
Yeah, getting the title shot against Ric Flair. A young Coco Beware.
Now, Coco never held a major title, if I have that correct, right?
No,
he never held like a world championship.
No, but he was a tag team champion in Mid-South. Him and another guy, Norvell Austin. They were the Pretty Young Things, and they came out. They had the Michael Jackson red leather jacket with the silver. And,
man, we got to bust those out for a future show, man. We got to show that clip for a future show.
The Pretty Young Things were in Mid-South Wrestling, World Class Championship Wrestling, and yeah, they were a decent tag team, though. I gotta give them credit.
Oh.
That's awesome.
But yeah,
that was great. I mean, I just know, like, it's funny. Coco Beware to me. Now he had he. I'm gonna get confused. He had the bird, right? Wasn't he with the?
Yes, Frankie.
Right,
Frankie.
I almost was thinking, and I'm gonna be this is no disrespect. I almost thought he was more like a jobber sometimes through the years.
I'll be honest. When he got elected, when he got put into the Hall of Fame, I was a little bit surprised. And that's no disrespect to Coco Beware. No. I just wasn't thinking Coco Beware Hall of Fame because, like I said, as I'm asking you, Chris, as well, as far as like any major titles, he might have had like pre-WWF, but I don't really think he held anything, as far as like the NWA title or AWA. I know he didn't hold the AWA, and yeah, just I was a little not surprised that he was inducted, but he's gotten in before some other notable names, which we can make another show out of that, out of Definitely. The WWE Hall of Fame and who's missing. Starting off with Demolition, right?
Yeah, I criticize that every year, and you know it.
Yeah. That's right. Demolition's still going strong as a tag team. They show up at signings and conventions as a team, and they just celebrated their 35th year together, which is pretty awesome. It's rare in wrestling that two guys stick together that long. So a real bond with those guys. John, go ahead. Were you going to say something there?
I was going to ask you something. You guys might know us, maybe doing the research, and this is back to Dombrowski. Do you guys know his age? How old he is?
I think he's younger than us. I think he's maybe like early 30s, maybe.
That's what I was thinking. Boy, what a career! Good for him, man. He kind of reminds me of our friend Sean Kramars.
Yes.
Same.
Yes.
Sean Kramars, who does the independent scene there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the host of that Daddy Yeah Productions at night on Thursdays on YouTube. Him and his partner there, and it's great to see our buddy there and hear him and call a match, and definitely proud of him.
No question. We got to get Sean back one of these days on the show and catch up with him. It's been a while. He's tough to get a hold of now. He's tough to get a hold of now. Yeah, well, he's going to need an agent pretty soon. We're going to have to book it with his agent.
He's the busiest man. Busy.
I believe I saw there on Facebook or Twitter he got a chance to go out to L.A. I don't know if it was today or this weekend, but good for him.
That's coming up as well. Yeah, that's good awesome. For him. Good for him. So continued success for Mr. Sean Kramars and of course for Joe Dombrowski, who we talked to today. Continued success for them as well. Guys, we definitely got to add this to our show as we always do. Our enhancement talent of the week, our non-Hall of Famers, if you will. The guys that were there to do the grunt work. And this week, I'll tell you, as I go down these lists, because I don't want to repeat anybody, obviously, right? We don't want to have the same guy on more than once. So as I dwindle down this list, man, we're definitely scraping for some jobbers here, for some enhancement talents. And for this week, we got a Mr. Chris Tipton or Chris Nelson. As you can see there, he did hold, I believe that is like a UWF championship or something to that effect. I failed to have that written down. But he did have a belt at some point. But he was 0-11 in the World Wrestling Federation. But there he is there, born in 1974, right around our age. Wrestled a career 16 matches and hailing out of Winter Haven, Florida. But yeah, he definitely got his due there with a title. And like I said, I don't recall who he defeated for that title and what federation that was in. But Chris Tipton, Mr. Chris Nelson, wrestled a whole bunch of matches around the early 90s for the WWF, and definitely, paid his dues or contributed to the business, as all these guys do. Hey, takes two to tango, and this guy was on the other end of some of those matches, some of those beatings from some of the major names. But
I wonder if he's related to Jim Nelson, or Private Jim Nelson, that also turned into Boris Zukov.
Right.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah,
that's a good question. Maybe he's related.
Nelson, for that matter, yeah. That's probably the worst joke of the show right there, man.
It's getting late.
Yeah.
It's getting late.
We're getting to the latter portion of the show when my jokes are just getting worse. Anyway.
Hey, but before you get there, Charlie, we got to mention and a big announcement today during our show, right, John? You can follow us, Falls Count Anywhere, of course, on our home on Facebook, and here you see up on the screen there on Twitter at Count Anywhere, and we're also on Spotify. I met somebody today, talked about the show, and he became a subscriber on Spotify. They're right in front of me and my son, so that was great. And we have our new YouTube is up and running for our fans and everybody to check out there. It is Friends with the Z, FRIENDZ Media Network, Friends Media Network on YouTube. All our shows will be there, not just this show, Falls Count Anywhere, but the Goal Getters and the Robin Rustino Live, and of course Citizens United. So trying to make it a little easier for our viewers out there to find all of our shows, not just this one here, but got the YouTube up and running, and the future is bright, right, guys? And we got some great guests coming up in the weeks to come.
Absolutely, we do. And again, as always, just want to thank everybody that takes any part of their day to check us out, even just for a few minutes. Whether whatever, we always see the results of how many views we've got, because that's something we want to try to take pride in. Hey, the more viewers, the better, right? So whenever we see any viewers, I mean, if we get one, we're happy. But then when we see on Facebook, we had about 1,100 last week. That gets me fired up. It's like, okay, we're doing something right, I think. Or even if you're just watching just to laugh your asses off at us, I don't care. As long as you're watching, you're watching, right? So enjoy the show as we do. Because guys, pro wrestling, there's so many options, as we talked about with Joe Dombrowski today. So many options now for wrestling, just besides the AEW and WWE. You got the Ring of Honor, you got MLW, of course, NWA, and so many others to check out, and so accessible now online through YouTube and through different websites and streaming, whether it be Fight TV or whatever the case. It's just very, very accessible. So keep an eye out for that. And again, like I said, we're going to definitely keep you guys posted as far as any MLW events coming up and any other wrestling events coming up on the independent scene. But of course, guys, we want to do our public service announcement here on this show. We are a show of the people, right? And we're always looking out for people here on this show. And want to just throw up some important information up on the screen there. For anybody that's going through it, anybody that needs some help, that needs somebody to talk to, of course, you got the mental health awareness phone number there. Give them a call. You can be completely anonymous. Just let it out, man. Get it off your chest, whatever it is. They're there to listen. They're there to help. Also, the human trafficking hotline. Something we don't want to see. So if you see it, report it. And that's the number to call to do so. But yeah, that's something we definitely want to prevent from happening. And then the YWCA, what's that all about there, John?
That one there, and that's a local number I put up. But the YWCA, that's for those that sadly might have in the past we're trying to end sexual violence, sexual assault and violence, those in the past that may have been injured in that way, or it's currently happening to them, men or women. Please, if you have a YWCA, I guarantee it in your county, anywhere in the United States, and certainly in Canada, all over. Please call them. There's counselors standing by. They're professional, incredible, and they're like, they're just something else. Please give them a call, because I know it's tough, and they'll help you really get through something. Some people, it takes 20, 30 years, but that's a good one to look at. And the last one, Charlie and Chris, that I do want to put up is this number.
Yes.
Nationwide, 988. Please, we've all been in I think everyone has. I know people get embarrassed, I assume, by it, but don't. 988. That's all you got to dial. And if you're having bad thoughts and stuff, give it a call and talk to someone first.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, thanks for that information, John, for putting that information up on the screen there. And again, that 988, 988, it's easy to remember. You don't got to write down any phone numbers. 988, if you're having any thoughts, any problems, call that number. Don't hesitate. Don't be shy. Don't be bashful. So, guys, another great show in the books here. Appreciate everything you guys do throughout the week, getting the clips ready, and Chris providing the clips, all that good stuff, and John making contact with our guests and getting them on the show for us. And as we continue to roll along, guys.
Charlie, your preparation keeps us rolling like an engine. So thank you.
Hey, I try, man. I try. I cram it in like the night before, like a big exam. That's when I work my best, man. Under pressure, So, but guys, once again, for myself, for John Restaino, for Chris DiCarlo, from Falls Count Anywhere podcast, thank you so much for joining us, and keep an eye out for us as we have as Chris mentioned, we have some great guests on the pipeline here. So keep an eye out, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, and stay tuned next week.